that's a lot of close-packed civilization down there.
You're not kidding. Look at all those offices. You know, in every single one of those offices is somebody scheming and figuring how to squeeze another nickel out of somebody in some other office. I can no more do a job like that than swim the Pacific underwater.
Oh, I'm with you. I'll stick to flying. Hey, wait a minute. What have you got against making money?
Nothing. I think it's a wonderful invention. I just don't like what it does to some people and what some people do to get it.
All right, I'm still with you. Say, which one of those buildings is Mr. Meredith's?
I don't know. I bet we could land on any one of them. He'd own it.
Say, Chuck. Why do you suppose Meredith wants us to take him up to Greenbrier?
Why does a man like that want to go anywhere? Business, I guess.
Yeah, but what kind of business could he do in a little place like that? Greenbrier's not exactly a hive of commercial activity.
I don't know. We just take him up there and bring him back.
Excuse me, my friend. There's our building.
Right on time. I like that.
But, you know, sometimes without you, I think we get lost.
That's right.
My name's Martin, Whirlybirds.
Glad to know you. My attorney, Mr. Stanley.
How do you do, sir? Well, you have a real nice
Let's get
paper.
started. My secretary made it plain to you boys that this trip is confidential. I don't want a word of it to get out to anyone. Is that quite clear?
Yes, sir.
Your secretary made it very clear, Mr. Meredith, but it really wasn't necessary. We run a helicopter service, not a gossip column.
You boys won't be pushed around, will you? Well, I like that. How'd you like to work for me? Full time. I travel quite a bit.
No, sir, I don't think so. We'd rather work for ourselves full time.
How much money do you make?
Not as much as you could afford to pay us, I'm sure, but, well, we like the working conditions. That's worth more than money.
Yes, I suppose it is. You know, I like that. I like you boys. If you ever change your mind, well, the offer's still on.
Thank you. I don't think we will.
Well, I didn't think you would. You know, you've read that thing over at least 7 times. I've only read it over once, and yet I'll bet I know more about what's inside it than you do, even though you drew it up.
It's a well-drawn document, if I may say so myself.
Well, you needn't say so. I wouldn't have paid you to draw it up if I wasn't sure it was going to be done well.
Thank you.
What that document doesn't say, what no document can do, is to tell us how much good faith there is among the other parties to the merger. This merger is completely valueless unless all parties are concerned are completely in favor of it.
You're right.
You know, they're all afraid of me. They all know that I want it. I'm afraid they won't speak their true minds.
What we've got to do this afternoon is find out how they really feel about the deal.
That's what we're going to do.
The king arrives. All hail.
You're a bright boy, Jay. It's surprising you never learned the value of respect. Walter Meredith is twice the man you'll ever be.
You adore him so, Mrs. Weldon. It's surprising to me that you ever divorced him.
Don't confuse the issues, Jay. It isn't worthy of you. I was speaking of business acumen, not love.
Perhaps a man with no real acumen doesn't love his business.
A well-turned phrase, Mr. Cartwright, but I was speaking of another sort of love.
And perhaps a man can have only one sort of love in his life.
Perhaps.
Speaking of love, let none of us forget to tell the great Mr. Meredith how much we love him and his views on the merger.
If he were against something, he'd have the guts to say so.
Mrs. Weldon, why are you so bitter? Is your great wealth and your position in the business community really of no consolation to you?
For the loss of the great Mr. Meredith, I doubt it. I wonder if that's why your second marriage lasted for so short a time. It must have been quite unpleasant for poor Mr. Weldon, knowing that your thoughts were always...
My. How unkindly we are. Shall we go? Welcome, Walter. Welcome. My home is your home for as long as you wish to stay.
Thank you, Mr. Cartwright.
You may find things a little primitive this afternoon. I let all the servants go for the day. I thought that under the circumstances it might be wise.
Very wise. We wouldn't want anyone to know of this meeting.
What about those two?
Oh, they're all right. I'll vouch for them, Jay.
That's good enough for me, Mr. Meredith. Very good to see you again, sir.
Thank you, Jay. Good to see you.
The dog sits up and offers his paw. We can't stand boy wonders.
How strange, Mrs. Weldon, in view of the fact that you married one.
When he was your age, he was a man.
Thank you very much for the nice compliment. How are you, my dear?
I'm fine, Walter. How are you?
Fine. You're looking beautiful as ever.
Thank you.
Well, you know Arthur, of course.
Hello.
And our two guests, P.T. Moore and Mr. Martin.
Hello.
Well, I think we ought to get started. See, it's 12 minutes past 2. That leaves us just exactly 48 minutes until we have to notify the bank if we're going ahead with the merger.
Do you have any doubt, Walter, that we will all agree?
We haven't voted yet.
Walter, you underestimate your own strength.
And others' weakness.
Well, let's get on with it. Come on, boys.
Sir, we'll wait out here for you.
Oh, I think you might enjoy this. Come on.
Well, surely you're not going to ask these pilots to sit in on the meeting.
Yes, I am. You know, they have a rather unusual but not unintelligent attitude towards money. There are things that they won't do for it. That's something I don't think any of us can say for ourselves. I think they might enjoy seeing how money is made. Shall we go? Come on, boys.
Well, may I offer anyone anything? A drink, perhaps, after your flight, Walter.
No, thank you. I think we'd better get down to business.
Please be seated.
By this time, I'm sure you've all read your copies of the merger. Now, this document was prepared at my direction, so naturally I'm in favor of it. What I want to find out is how you feel about it.
There'll be no objection, Walter.
I take that to mean that you'll vote your stock in affirmative.
Of course, Walter.
Jay, how do you feel about it?
I'm a comparatively young man, Mr. Meredith, the boy, to quote Mrs. Weldon. I've achieved a certain degree of success, perhaps prematurely. In any event, deservedly or not, I control certain interests. This imposes responsibilities upon me. In fulfilling these obligations, I don't think that I could do better than to follow your lead.
Mr. Cartwright?
I'm too old to stand in the way of progress, which this proposed merger undoubtedly represents. Affirmative.
It would seem to settle the matter.
Not exactly. Let's speak frankly. It'd be stupid of me to pretend that I was surprised at the result of this little informal vote we've just taken. But it would be equally stupid of me not to realize that, some of you, in spite of the way you really feel, and because of my position, might not want to oppose me. Maybe
afraid of you, Walter. Don't be modest.
I think it's fairly obvious that if I were so minded, I could make certain reprisals against any of you who stood in the way of this merger. But this is the point. This merger cannot be successful unless each and every one of you want it. Unless each and every one of you are willing to use the interest at your disposal in favor of this project. I'd rather have you vote against it than for it, simply because you are, as Marion put it, afraid of me. I must know how you really feel.
So much simpler with dogs, isn't it, Walter? Remember the beautiful Irish setters we raised? We always knew how they felt about things. They never tried to fool us.
The eternal, hopeful, hopeless search for truth. Do you find this problem in your business? How do you find the truth?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Cartwright. We fly a helicopter. We've got a compass, an altimeter, and a gas gauge. It tells us where we're headed, how high we are, and how long we can stay up. It's about all the truth we need. Is there anything I can get you? You all right?
Is a 1914 airplane all right?
Well, some of them can still fly.
I can still fly.
Mr. Cartwright, I don't mean to rush you, but if you're feeling all right, we have to get word to the bank in less than 25 minutes.
Sure. Go ahead, Walter. I have even less time than you do. At my age, time is rather a nasty subject. You may have noticed that for the last 10 years I haven't carried a watch.
As I was saying, it's important for me to know exactly how you feel about this situation.
The meeting is over.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Shut up, all of you. The Hawks are meeting, huh? To plan another raid on the chickens. Well, there's not going to be any raid. You think you're Hawks, huh? Well, one of you is a pigeon. My pigeon.
How'd this man get in here?
I don't know.
Well, get him out of here.
Now, look, mister.
You look. Look at it good. Don't think I won't use it on you if I have to.
Listen, fella.
But I'm going to use it on somebody else first. Hold it right there, buddy. Look at it good. And listen to it. Anybody got any last words?
My good man, you're...
Okay, I heard you. Now you hear this. Hold it right there, lady. Nobody moves. Stay right where you are.
You guys leave me alone. This is no affair of yours. Yeah? We just saw you shoot a man in cold blood. He asked for it.
Well, let the police decide on that. Come on.
Violence, violence, violence. The last refuge of defeated people.
I phoned for the police. It's been many years since I've had any practice in criminal law. But I suggest that you touch nothing until the police arrive.
I can't stand this waiting.
Life is nothing but waiting, my dear Mrs. Weldon. We're all waiting to die. Some of us must wait longer than others.
Well, now we'd better phone the police.
The police are on the way.
And they will execute the executioner.
That won't bring him back.
I'm Arthur Stanley. I'm the one who phoned. There's your man.
How about it? I'll put the cuffs on him. He won't give us any trouble. At the stiff?
That is Walter Meredith.
You mean the late Walter Meredith? Relax, Buster. Thanks, hero.
Is this what's known as a police investigation?
Oh, we're not investigators, lady. We just happened to be cruising in the neighborhood and got word over the radio from headquarters. We'll just wait until the lieutenant gets here.
This is a tragic thing that's happened, but life, as the saying has it, goes on.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does.
The death of Mr. Meredith doesn't end the possibility of a merger. I hold his power of attorney in the matter, and I can vote his interests. If the merger is to take effect, we must still get to the bank by 3 o'clock. I suggest that the meeting continue.
Oh, brother.
I beg your pardon?
The man's not even cold yet. A man you've apparently known for years. How can you...
Take it easy, P.T. It's none of our business.
You're absolutely right. It isn't any of your business. But it is our business, and very important business. I suggest we get on with the meeting. Come along.
Just a minute, lady. Where are you going?
Into the other room.
Nobody leaves this room.
We have business to discuss. Surely you don't expect us to remain in the same room with...
Oh, there's a touch of sentimentality.
Come on, knock it off. Knock it.
Nobody leaves this room till the lieutenant gets here.
Surely you don't think we're going to...
We don't
fight-
think anything, lady. We don't get paid to think. We just hold the fort until the lieutenant gets here.
Very well. Let's continue with the meeting. We might as well start with you, Jay. Walter Meredith is dead. You don't have to be afraid of him anymore. And for once in your life, you can be honest. I take it that now you'll change your vote and go against the merger.
Excuse me.
You all think I didn't like Mr. Meredith. Well, I didn't. How can you like anyone that you envy to a point where you're all eaten up inside? I didn't envy him his money. I've made as much money as he had at my age. I envied him because he was strong, because he was sure, because he had guts. Twice the man I'll ever be, Mrs. Weldon. 10 times the man I'll ever be. He thought this merger was a good thing. I haven't the guts to disagree with him, even though he's dead. I envied him, but I took strength from him. I vote yes.
Well, well. The boy genius.
You know, I don't know what the rules are around here, but I guess it is okay to kick a man when he's down.
Will you two aviators please leave the room?
Nobody leaves the room.
Oh, do let them stay, my dear Mrs. Weldon. Consider them my guests. Walter wanted them to learn something. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll find it of some value.
Thank you, Mr. Cartwright. We're learning. We're learning fast.
Under the circumstances, Mrs. Weldon, I don't quite understand your antagonism to Mr. Green. He's voting your way. He's on your side.
Is he, Mr. Stanley? How do you know what my side is?
Well, I thought you...
You thought I worshipped Walter Meredith. You thought I adored him. You could never understand why I divorced him. Well, that's really very simple. I didn't divorce him. He divorced me.
Well, 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 well.
He found I was manipulating stocks in a way that he thought was, I believe the word he used, was dishonest. He acted quite righteous.
But if it was dishonest...
Please don't split hairs with me, Mr. Stanley. As an attorney, you know the thin line between right and wrong.
A thin line, perhaps, but a definite one.
He spoke of criminal proceedings.
There were no criminal proceedings.
No. He forgave me. Charity. And then he threw me out. With the dreadful obligation charity hanging around my neck. I can forgive anything but unasked-for charity. It's too degrading. I vowed I'd get even with him for what he did to me. And I will.
Haven't you waited too long to exact payment, my dear? He is dead, you know.
No, it's not too late. I know how much this merger meant to him. His entire financial structure depended on it. And I'm going to vote against it. If he were alive, he could ride this out. But he's dead. And his noble empire is going to die with him. It'll all come tumbling down. That's the tombstone I'm erecting over him. A mass of rubble.
What about you, Mr. Cartwright? Obviously, the proposed merger is not going to go through. Mrs. Weldon's interests will not be joined. But there is a possibility of you and Mr. Green joining forces with certain sections of Mr. Meredith's estate. You'll make a merger of which I'm sure Mr. Meredith would have approved.
I knew Walter Meredith for almost 40 years, nearly half my life. In all that time, I never opposed him. I didn't dare to. He would have crushed me like that. Me, Horace Cartwright. I'm 87 years old, Mr. Stanley. Do you know what it means to a man like me to have lived the last 40 years of his life at the capricious mercy of a child who is now dead? A child with no breeding, no background, no family. A child for a long time that held a position of eminence that should have been held by a Cartwright, and now will be held by a Cartwright. I shall stand on my feet. I vote negative.
Well, I guess we've all spoken our minds.
That was all very interesting. Arthur, pay the men off. Let's get back to town.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley. Nice job, boys. Thank you very much. Bye.
Man, you sure go a long way to get your facts.
Well, you know, I don't have an altimeter, a gas gauge, or a compass. When I want to find out the truth, I have to do it my own way.